We fear regret more than we fear failure. This is why we never start. This is part of the How to Suffer Less series. Every episode in this series is about one specific source of unnecessary pain and what the research says about reducing it. This is episode 17. I want to start by correcting something. Most people believe about themselves. Most people think they are afraid of failing. This is not quite right. What most people are actually afraid of is how bad they will feel if they try and it doesn't work. That is a different fear, and it requires a different solution. The fear isn't of the failure, the fear is of becoming the person who failed, of having to look at that version of yourself, of carrying that, of explaining it, of what it would say about you. That is what is actually happening when we feel too scared to start. Not the event, the aftermath. And the aftermath is happening in imagination, where it isn't bounded by anything real, where it can be as large and as permanent as the brain needs to be, to justify not moving. Psychologists call this anticipatory regret. The fear of the negative emotion we will be decision goes wrong, not failure itself. The feeling of failure, and research shows it is more paralyzing than actual failure, because actual failure is bounded. It happened, it's over. We move through it, we adapt, we find out what we are made of. We discovered that we can survive things we thought we couldn't. Anticipatory regret is unbounded. It lives in imagination, and imagination, the failure can last forever. The shame can be total, the damage can be irreversible, none of which will actually happen. But the brain doesn't notice, because the brain has never been there. The self-help industry tells us to feel the fear and do it anyway. That isn't wrong. It's just incomplete, because it doesn't address what the brain is actually doing. The brain isn't processing the fear of event, it's processing the fear of the self that would exist after the event. The version of us who tried and failed, the version of us to live without that. That is what feels unbearable. And feel the fear and do it anyway doesn't change the sides of what feels unbearable. It just asks you to push past it, which sometimes works and some often doesn't. Here is the research find that actually changed something. People are dramatically worse at predicting how bad they will feel after a negative event than they expect to be. We consistently overestimate the intensity of negative emotion after a failure, and we consistently overestimate how long it will last. Psychologists call this the impact bias. The failure will not feel as bad as we are imagining, and it will not last as long. This is not optimism. This is a documented finding. The brain has an extraordinary capacity to adapt to negative outcomes, to find meaning in them, to rebuild around them. We call this psychological immune system, and it works far better than we predict it will. We are protecting ourselves from pain, that will be significantly smaller than the protection costs. And here is the part that is harder to sit with. Studies on regret consistently find the same pattern in the short-term people regret action. Things they did that went wrong, but over time, years, decades, the regret that persists is almost always for inaction. The things not tried, the conversation not had, the doors not opened, the project not started, the person not told, not what happened when we tried and failed, what never happened because we didn't try, and this is the specific cruelty of anticipatory regret. The fear of regret that is keeping us from action is the exact mechanism that creates the regret we are trying to avoid. We are trying to protect ourselves from regret by doing the things that produces the most regret of all. And one question: when you notice anticipatory regret stopping you from starting something, ask you this: will I regret not trying this more than I would regret trying and failing? Be honest, not optimistic, but honest. Imagine yourself at 70, looking back at this moment and this specific decision. Which version of this, the attempt of or trying avoidance, will that person be carrying? The answer is usually clear and usually pointing in the direction you already know. And in the next episode, divorce doesn't break people, the story they tell about it does, and the story is something you can change.